The crash of splintered wood and scattering canvases tore through the afternoon bustle of South Congress Avenue. The hot Texas sun beat down mercilessly as watercolors, delicate, fragile, the work of 6 long weeks, flew across the pavement like broken wings. Megan Brooks dropped to her knees. Pain shot up her legs, but she barely noticed. Her trembling hands reached desperately for each painting, her lips trembling as she whispered, "No, no, no." A portrait of sunflowers lay torn down the middle, muddy boot prints already staining the petals. A flock of painted birds lay crushed under strangers' hurried footsteps. Each piece wasn't just paint on paper. It was medicine, rent, chemo, survival. This one was supposed to pay for Thursday's treatment, she murmured, clutching at the ruined sunflowers. And that one for the nausea pills. Megan? A voice, deep and apologetic, cut through her panic. She looked up to see a man in his late 30s, well-dressed but clearly shaken, already stooping to gather her scattered work with surprising care. His tall frame blocked the glare of the sun, but the expression on his face wasn't annoyance or pity. It was guilt. "I am so sorry. I wasn't watching where I was going. Please, let me help." Behind him, her wooden easel lay sideways, cracked by the collision. Megan swallowed hard. Anger didn't come, only exhaustion. Bone-deep, soul-crushing exhaustion that made her want to sit on that hot sidewalk and let life win. "It's fine," she whispered, though her quivering hands betrayed her. "Accidents happen." The man froze as he handed her a painting. He noticed the tremors, the medical alert bracelet, the way every movement seemed to cost her something. "These are," he began softly, lifting one of the canvases, a girl releasing a paper airplane into a sunset sky. The child's face radiated pure hope, fragile yet defiant. "These are incredible. Did you paint them?" Megan nodded, steadying herself against the broken table. The sun hammered at her skull. "Every one. Though after today, I may need to paint faster. Rent doesn't wait for clumsy artists." She tried to joke, but her voice cracked. The man hesitated, then asked, "How much for this one?" "40, Megan replied quickly. Then, noticing his expensive watch and pressed shirt, she blurted, "Or 30? Or, I'll do 5 for 200. Her words hung in the air. Pride and desperation clashed on her face. But the man only nodded. "Done." Megan blinked in shock, as if she hadn't expected him to agree. "My daughter loves art," he explained, his tone softening. "She's 9. Lost her mom 3 years ago. Art's been her lifeline since. These would mean something to her." The mention of a motherless child pierced Megan's exhaustion. She understood loss. She understood clinging to creation as a lifeline. Her voice dropped. "All right, but you choose them. Each piece should matter." He chose carefully. The paper airplane, a woman dancing in the rain, children chasing fireflies, a tree breaking through concrete, and 2 hands reaching across a divide. Megan wrapped each one, her movements slow, deliberate, as if conserving every drop of energy. "I'm here every day," she told him, 7 to 4, except treatment days, Mondays and Thursdays. As she reached for tape, a folded paper slipped from her bag, a hospital bill. Nolan glanced at the number before she snatched it back. His heart stopped. $47,000. Past due. Her voice rushed, embarrassed. "I should go. My meds make me drowsy if I don't take them with food. And I've missed a window." "When did you last eat?" She blinked, disoriented. "This morning, maybe yesterday. Hard to tell. The nausea." "Stop." His tone left no room for refusal. He pulled out his phone. "There's a taco truck around the corner. Best in Austin. What can you eat?" "I can't let you." "You're not letting me." "I'm insisting. You just made a big sale. We're celebrating." Minutes later, they sat on a shaded bench. Megan nibbled at a plain quesadilla while he pretended not to watch her struggle. Between them, the wrapped painting sat like a fragile barrier. "Lymphoma," she said suddenly. "Stage 3. Diagnosed 2 weeks after finishing art school. The doctors give me 50 to 50 odds if I can finish treatment. But each session is $3,000. Insurance doesn't come close. Nolan's chest tightened. He lived this. His late wife, Rachel. The spreadsheets, the schedules, the desperate fight against time. He studied Megan's pale face, the way she hid her shaking hands under the table. "My daughter, Ivy," he said quietly. After Rachel died, she stopped talking. For months, she just painted. Oceans, always blue, like she was drowning in color. An art therapist said creating beauty from pain is how we survive. Megan's eyes shimmered. Maybe, but beauty doesn't pay for chemo. No, Nolan agreed. But sometimes hope brings something better than money. That night, Nolan stood in his daughter's room, watching her breathe under a blanket of her paintings. On the wall hung the 5 new pieces he'd bought. Ivy stirred. "Daddy, why are you sad?" "Not sad, sweetheart. Just thinking of someone who needs help. Like Mommy needed help?" He nodded. Ivy yawned. "Then we help. That's what people do. They help." The next morning, Nolan returned to South Congress. Megan sat at her stand, brush in hand despite the tremors. "Back already?" she teased weakly. "Need more paintings?" "Actually," he said, pulling up a chair, "I have a proposition." Megan stilled. She'd heard those words before. Men who thought they could buy more than art. But his voice was steady, earnest. "My company has 27 blank walls. We need artwork. And we like to host a show. You'd be the featured artist." Her brush slipped, paint bleeding across the canvas. Hope flickered, then died. "I can't," she whispered. "I don't need pity." "You're right," Nolan said gently, pulling up a crate beside her. "This isn't pity. It's a chance. When Rachel was sick, I pushed everyone away. Refused help. She told me, before the end, that she wished she'd seen our community rally around us. I robbed her of that. I won't rob you of it, too." Megan's brush moved again. A girl with paper wings stood at the edge of a cliff, ready to leap. "What if I can't finish?" she whispered. "Then we display whatever you've made," Nolan said, "even if it's one unfinished piece. Sometimes the most beautiful art is incomplete." For the first time in months, Megan let herself smile. Weeks blurred into months. Megan painted through nausea, through dizzy spells, through nights when her bones ached so badly she could barely lift a brush. Each canvas was a gamble. Would her hands hold steady? Would her body allow her one more day, one more stroke? Nolan was always there. Some mornings he carried her easel from her tiny apartment to the street corner. Other days, he brought Ivy, who sat cross-legged on the sidewalk, sketching side by side with Megan as if she'd known her forever. For Megan, Ivy was sunlight. The little girl's laughter cracked open the walls she'd built around her fear. She taught Megan to paint with her left hand when the right one shook too much, to mix colors with fingers instead of brushes when her grip failed. "See?" Ivy would grin, smearing paint across her own cheek. Art doesn't care about rules. By October, Nolan's plan had become real. Flyers went up. "The Sky Isn't Finished," a benefit show featuring Megan Brooks. It was held in a downtown gallery. White walls, soft lights, dozens of her paintings hung in perfect symmetry, each one born of pain but radiant with defiance. Canvases of children chasing fireflies, women with wings made of paper, trees splitting through concrete, and at the center, a massive unfinished piece, a girl reaching for the horizon, her hand still only outlined in pencil. When Megan walked in, thin from treatments but standing tall, the room fell silent. She wore a simple black dress, splattered with paint she hadn't been able to wash out. But in that moment, she looked like a queen. She turned to Nolan, whispering, "What if no one buys anything?" He bent low, voice steady. "They already have." She blinked. The gallery was full. Business leaders, doctors, students, strangers who had read her story online. A local news anchor covered it live. One by one, people lifted their paddles. Paintings sold for hundreds, then thousands, not out of pity, but because her art made them feel. When Ivy's favorite painting, the paper airplane at sunset, sold for $12,000, the little girl squeezed Megan's hand. "See? You're magic." By the end of the night, every piece was gone. The total stunned Megan. Enough for all remaining chemo sessions, medications, and even rent for next year. She excused herself to the gallery's back room, tears streaming down her face. For the first time since her diagnosis, the weight of fear lifted. She wasn't alone anymore. Nolan found her there, trembling against the wall. "You did this," she whispered. "No," he said softly. "You did this. You fought. You painted. You never gave up. All I did was bump into you at the wrong time." "The right time," she corrected, her voice breaking. "The exact right time." He hesitated, then brushed a stray lock of hair from her face. For weeks, there had been a pull between them. Quiet, steady, unspoken. Now it was undeniable. "Can I tell you something?" he asked. Megan nodded. "I thought I'd never love again after Rachel. But watching you fight, watching you live, it made me realize grief doesn't end. It transforms. You taught me that." Her tears came harder. She leaned into him, not for rescue, but for balance. Together, they stood in that quiet room, holding more than each other, holding the possibility of a future. Spring arrived. Megan finished her final chemo session. The scans came back. Remission. That night, Nolan and Ivy decorated her apartment with paper airplanes and sunflowers. When she walked in, Ivy threw her arms around Megan's waist and whispered, "You're ours now, right?" Megan knelt, hugging her back. "If you'll have me." Nolan's voice was steady. "Sure. Forever." On the wall hung the unfinished painting from the gallery. But now, the girl's hand reached the horizon in bold, bright color. Megan had finished it at last. Beneath it, in small letters, she'd signed, "For Nolan and Ivy, who taught me art isn't about surviving, but about living." Sunrise and so, the girl who once sold paintings for chemo found something greater than medicine, a family, a future, and a love strong enough to turn survival into life. Because sometimes the wrong step on a crowded street leads you exactly where you're meant to be.